Have you ever just stopped and looked around a hospital room and wondered how everything is organized? Really think about it for a second. What do a basic, totally low-tech item like a stethoscope, a highly advanced piece of hardware like a titanium hip implant, and a simple little bottle of eye drops all have in common? On the surface, they seem to belong to completely different worlds of medicine, right? One listens to your heart, one actually replaces a joint, and one gives you localized relief. But in the eyes of the law and in the critical, unseen infrastructure of modern healthcare, they share a very specific and highly regulated classification. Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're actually using a real academic syllabus, course DBV 3053, Introduction to Medical Devices, as our guide to decode this totally unseen world. We're going to bring some real energy to the absolutely vital infrastructure of healthcare. So if you've ever been curious about how a massive hospital actually manages to regulate, understand, and safely use the thousands of machines and tools within its walls, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We've got 5 parts. 1, welcome to medical devices. 2, the legal definition. 3, form, function, and purpose. 4, the major categories. And finally, 5, assessment and next steps. So, kicking things off with Section 1, welcome to medical devices, the classroom to clinic arc. It's basically a massive logistical challenge, isn't it? Hospitals are managing this absolutely chaotic volume of equipment. We're talking everything from incredibly simple manual blood pressure cuffs and basic thermometers, all the way up to infant incubators, complex digital ECG monitors, and mobile anesthesia workstations. How on earth do you train a professional to maintain, understand, and regulate all of these vastly different tools? Well, without a rock-solid foundation and strict categorization, it'd just be impossible. Which brings us to Section 2, the legal definition, specifically Act 737. So how does the government actually tame this chaos? They use the Medical Device Act of 2012, or Act 737. And the definition here is absolutely crucial. According to the Act, a medical device is any instrument, apparatus, machine, implant, in vitro reagent, or even software intended to be used on humans for specific medical purposes. That covers diagnosing and monitoring a disease to replacing anatomy or sustaining life. But here's the kicker, the most fascinating part. A medical device does not achieve its primary action by pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic means. Basically, if it works via chemical reaction in your body, like a drug, it's a pharmaceutical. If it works mechanically, physically, or digitally, boom, it's a medical device. Let's put that legal definition into practice. The sheer diversity is just wild. We've got coronary stents, automated external defibrillators or AEDs, and massive dialysis machines. But it also includes everyday items you'd probably never think of, like a simple pregnancy test, a basic dressing kit, and yes, even eye drops and software. The fact that software itself can be legally classified and regulated as a medical device just shows how broad and forward-thinking this rule has to be to keep us safe today. Moving right along to Section 3, form, function, and purpose, making sense of the chaos. The absolute easiest way to break this all down is to look at the 2 big functional umbrellas, diagnostic devices versus therapeutic devices. Think of it like this. Diagnostic devices are your information gatherers that detect, diagnose, and monitor physiological conditions. X-rays, ECG monitors, they fall right here. Therapeutic devices, on the other hand, are the action takers. They're actually used to support, modify, replace, or restore biological functions to treat an illness or injury. So, a heart monitor is diagnostic, but the pacemaker that actively regulates the heartbeat? That's therapeutic. Now for Section 4, the major categories. Translating purpose to location. Once you know what a device does functionally, you know exactly where it goes in the hospital. A few major locations really stand out. First up, the laboratory. These devices are crucial for in vitro examinations, meaning they test specimens taken from the human body, like blood or tissue, to give us screening and diagnostic info. Next, you've got radiology and imaging, relying on seriously advanced tech to diagnose and intervene. And finally, an increasingly huge one, health IT systems. This is where all that software we talked about earlier lives. And the risk really escalates, especially in places like radiology. You start with intermediate risk stuff, like standard ultrasound scanners. But then you get to the high-risk categories. We are talking million-dollar marvels of modern engineering here. Linear accelerators, massive cyclotrons, full-body MRI, and PET scanners. The sheer complexity of these high-risk machines means you need an incredible level of specialized knowledge just to operate and maintain them safely.
Which perfectly leads us to Section 5, Assessment and Next Steps, the Blueprint for Success.
For all the students out there learning alongside us, take a look at what's truly valued in this field. A whopping 40% of the total grade is weighted entirely on the practical lab. That means hands-on, physical interaction with the equipment is literally the most critical part of the job. Then you've got a hefty 30% for the final exam, 20% for a test, and 10% for presentations. You absolutely cannot pass this without demonstrating proper, hands-on operational process to the strictest possible standards. And we'll wrap up the syllabus review with this super empowering course objective. It states that students must be able to explain professional ethics, responsibilities, and norms for biomedical equipment. I mean, what a vital reminder. Understanding the mechanics of a CT scanner or a dialysis machine, that's really only half the battle. Dealing with these life-saving tools requires strict, unwavering professional ethics. You aren't just fixing machines, you are guaranteeing patient safety. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. When you look at the unseen infrastructure of modern healthcare, from the simplest little eye drop dispenser to the most complex linear accelerator, are you ready to take responsibility for the machines that keep us alive? The standards are absolutely rigorous, the legal definitions are vast, and the impact is quite literally life or death. It makes you look at a hospital room in a completely different light, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this fascinating world, and as always, keep asking the big questions.